When I first arrived here, there was a bipartisan support for producing American oil. We had a coalition of Republicans and Democrats, and we worked with the administration, whether it's Republican or Democrat, to find a way to bring more oil online here, oil produced by Americans and consumed by Americans. When the opposition started on a political basis, we were then importing about 20% of our oil. As the opposition has continued, as I said, we now import 67%. And that money, which would have been spent in this country producing millions of jobs and putting people into permanent jobs, long-term jobs, is going to all these countries throughout the world, but we don't have that investment. We have now what we call petrodollars, and we have to send our exports overseas to bring that money back. This chart shows that 1 million barrels of imported oil cost the American economy 20,000 jobs, and we're importing 14 million barrels a day now. So I tell you, Senator, it's a recent phenomenon comparatively, and it is partisan. It has started with President Clinton.
Well, I would only respond to say that's my observation. I have not been here as long as you have, but every year since I've been here, we've had this vote, and the people up there want us to drill, to explore, produce. I remember the argument against the Alaskan pipeline. They said, oh, it's going to destroy the caribou. What it's done, you go up there, as I've been with you, anytime during the summer months, the warm months, the only shade the caribou can find is a pipeline. You see them all out there. It's actually had the effect of increasing the breed. But anyway, I just, I keep thinking, if we had followed through with what we were talking about doing back in the middle 90s, we would now be producing our own energy, producing our own oil, and we would not have these high prices at the pumps.
I thank the Senator very much. I'll close here. Madam President, I do believe that we should have the article from the Wall Street Journal printed in remarks printed the record after my remarks, and I would hope that the Senate would pay attention to it.
Without objection, it will be included in the record.
I do thank the chair for his patience. Let me do one last thing, and I would like to send to the desk a resolution that's co-sponsored by Senator Murkowski, Senator Kaka, Senator Cochran, Senator Isaacson, Senator Craig, and Senator Snowe. I'm introducing this resolution to honor veteran entrepreneurs and calling on the federal government to improve federal contracting opportunities for service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses. They call them the SDVOSBs. These veteran entrepreneurs have given much to our country, and the federal government needs to honor them by utilizing their array of valuable skills. Almost 9 years ago, Congress passed the Veterans Entrepreneurship and Small Business Development Act of 1999, which directed the President to establish a goal of awarding at least 3% of federal contracts to service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses. In subsequent years, the federal agencies have consistently failed to reach that statutory goal. In the most recent official government-wide reports, contracts awarded to service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses made up less than 1% of federal contracts. As I travel home this weekend now to observe Memorial Day, I'll have the great honor of being accompanied by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs Secretary Dr. James Peake, who has accepted my invitation to visit our state. Dr. Peake, a decorated combat veteran and former Army Surgeon General, is an exceptional American. An important challenge for the VA will be to provide adequate VA health facilities and services to veterans in rural areas. Dr. Peake's decision to travel from our nation's capital to Alaska on this important holiday shows his commitments to all veterans, particularly those who come from rural areas. I ask unanimous consent that the resolution be printed in the record following my remarks.
Without objection, so ordered. It will be printed in the
record. For her patience and yield the floor.
The senator from Oklahoma is recognized.
Madam President, first of all, let me thank the senator from Alaska. This is a frustration that I've felt for so long, that it's not just that right down party lines we're not able to produce in ANWR, but also goes offshore. We have tried on the Republican side to do something about increasing the supply by drilling in Alaska, by going at the tar sands, and I'm sure the senator from Colorado will talk a little bit about shale out there in the western part of his state. And in my state of Oklahoma, trying to give tax incentives for the production of marginal wells, that's wells under 15 barrels a day. I can give a statistic that I don't have to back up because it's never been refuted. If we had all the marginal wells flowing today that have been shut down in the last 10 years, it would amount to more than we're currently importing from Saudi Arabia. So I think it's very arrogant of us when you have two hard-working senators and one member of the House from Alaska who want very much to do what 100% of the people in Alaska want to do, and that is to improve their economy by producing cheap oil for us domestically so we can bring down the price of gas, and they won't allow us to do it. Let me just make one comment. I'm going to be joined by the senator from Colorado. I want to touch upon one other area. That is, if we had been and would be successful in being able to drill more oil domestically so we can bring down the price of gas, no matter how much we produced, it can't go into the gas tank until it's been refined. And so refining capacity is something that is really critical in this country. And again, right down party lines, they prevented us from having that refinery capacity. I 3 different times had on the floor a bill called the Gas Price Act. And all this was a bill to start building refineries in America. It's been 30 years. 1976 was the last refinery that we had in America. And what we need to do is start building refineries. Well, with the BRAC process, and for those of you who come from states that don't have any military operations, you may not know what this is. But the BRAC process is the Base Realignment and Closing Commission. That's where you go through an independent entity to determine which of the military installations should be shut down. Of course, you shut down a military installation, and it's economically devastating to adjoining communities. So with the Gas Price Act, what we have done is provide that if you have been shut down as a military installation, that we could provide assistance through the Economic Development Administration for cities, if they're so inclined, to make applications so that they can turn these closed bases into refineries. And I thought when we developed this thing that it wouldn't be a problem at all, because no one should be against it. Everyone knows that we have to increase our refining capacity. We offered amendments on this bill to streamline the process, and also if people change their minds in communities, they would be able to stop this from taking place. States have a significant, if not dominant, role in permitting existing or new refineries, yet states face particularly technical and financial constraints when faced with these extremely complex facilities. So my Gas Price Act requires the administrator to coordinate and concurrently review all permits with the relevant state agencies to permit refineries. This program does not waive or modify any environmental law, and consequently should not have had anyone in opposition to it. Now, we brought it twice to the floor, 3 times to the floor, but twice we had votes. And right down party lines, every Democrat voted against the Gas Price Act. All we wanted to do is what the local governments and the local communities wanted to do, and that is to build refineries so that they could refine what we hope to be someday an increase in capacity so that we will not be reliant upon foreign countries for our ability to run this machine called America, but we'd be able to produce our own energy. And with that, I just think it's important that every time we talk about increasing production, which we've just got to do, we also have to talk about the refining capacity, and we're all ready to go, I say to my good friend from Colorado, with the Gas Price Act, if we're able to move in that direction. I believe that over the Memorial Day recess, when everybody's out there driving and people are much more sensitive to the price of gas, they're going to look back and say, you know, maybe the Republicans were right all those years. Maybe we should be increasing our supply, as the senator from Alaska put it, our supply of gasoline and oil produced here in America. I'll yield the floor.